Hello everyone and welcome to Ring Diaries here at Church of Uganda Family TV with me, Phiona Mbowa, where we talk about marriage, everything to do with marriage, any struggles in marriage, the wins in marriage, all of it you'll find it here at Ring Diaries every Saturday at 6 p.m. I keep telling us that we are here, no one is an expert. However long you've been married, you cannot be an expert in marriage. We are just here to share experiences and our stories so that it may help someone out there that may be going through all the same. I don't think it makes sense for us to repeat people's mistakes. Like if someone has done a mistake, let me learn from it and my life becomes better. And this evening, we are privileged to host two amazing gentlemen who are going to share about temptations in marriage. Next to me is Henry Mulindwa, who's been married for 6 years. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
And next to Henry is David Lutaaya, who's been married for 2 years. 2 full years. How has marriage been? You're very welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. How has marriage been? Was it what you expected, Lutaaya?
Some of the things, but most of the things, not really.
Not really.
Yeah, but we are working it out.
People say the first year is the worst of it. After the first year, you are good to go. And Henry, how has been 6 years with someone's child?
It has really been a marathon of, life together with someone new. But it is good. It has really been very good. And the most interesting part is getting to loosen up on some of my character and then adopt to someone else's. Also accept someone the way they are. Yeah, it's an interesting journey.
Okay, interesting. So, temptations. First of all, what are temptations? What are temptations? Okay, what is the understanding of temptations?
Me, I would say temptations, basically it is something you don't want to do, but the devil or you or God brings it so that you can overcome it.
Okay.
Okay, temptations to me, it's like something you really don't want to do. Yeah. Okay, but then a temptation comes in either to check you out, whether you are on your values or you're still sticking or still standing. Those things that come and shake you a little bit to see that are you really still standing? Are you going on? So those things that come to check you out. Yeah, I think those are what we could call temptations.
And Henry?
Not to differ so much from him, actually. I'll just add on to what he has said and introduce something to do with time and testing. I think temptations are not permanent. They are short-lived tests that we go through in our lives.
Short-lived?
Yes.
Okay.
And like he said...
I know temptations that have lasted for years, but anyway.
And I think they are like episodes. And they usually test. The test is usually in line with our spirituality.
Okay.
How good we know our God and how good we know who we are in God. So they are basically tests in various aspects of our lives that come to, like he said, check our values, our principles, and also our taste buds.
That's true. But you realize that most temptations are actually wrapped in very nicely colored things.
Exactly.
So what temptations as a marriage, because we're talking about marriage, what are those temptations that have stood out for us in the 2 years, in the 6 years that we've been married?
Well, for me, some temptations have been in the lines of finance, others have been in the lines of relationships,
Okay.
extramarital relationships, others have been in the line of lies, basic lies.
But if you've been married to this person, why would you be lying to your wife or your
No,
husband?
there are temptations. They didn't
You're
come to
tempted
pass.
to lie. No, I'm just saying. Actually, you've brought up lies. I've not looked at a lie as a temptation, but you find many a times you find you have to lie to your spouse. Why?
Very, very difficult moment.
David, are there moments when you've been tempted to lie?
Yes.
Why?
Because at some point I've overcome the temptation of lie. At some point, but simply because maybe you fear to be ashamed, or there is a vow or something you made together and now you're not doing it, and because you still want to keep the marriage sometimes. Okay, not to. Okay, I'm just going to. I'm learning right now that it's not good. But then I used to think that some lies are good to keep the marriage.
For greater good. No, at that moment you just have to lie for a greater good. Okay, I know it's not right.
There have been so many instances,
Just for example, there's a situation. For example, in my line of work, someone can come to you, and I don't know what you call this. Someone can come to you and they are telling you their personal, deepest secrets. Yeah, and maybe your wife wants to know about them.
Okay.
So could that be a lie? Because now you said you have to be open. What were you doing with that girl? No, you tell me what she was telling you, for example. I'm just kidding. Tell me what she was telling you. And then you'll be like, cut now. It is someone's story.
It's not my place to say it.
Yeah,
and
then
sometimes you've given them your word in a spiritual perspective that you will not go around sharing either their testimony or their story.
I thought we are one. What you know, I know.
Isn't that rumor mongering now?
Possibly. I actually think possibly there are things we have to keep. But I don't know where we draw the line. That's my problem.
Yeah, that's that.
But I'd actually not thought about lying as being a temptation.
It is a temptation.
It is a big
It is a
temptation.
temptation, especially when it comes to money. Okay, every couple has a way they do their thing. So could be a certain couple is saying, whenever you get all the money, all of us bring it on the table, and then we cut it. Others could be like, you remain here with your money, you just bring some and put it on the table, but everyone. So at that moment, or for example, you agreed to bring all the money, but there are things
I need to sort.
I need to sort.
Yeah.
And probably if you bring that money on the table,
They won't be sorted.
yes.
Or there are seeds you need to sow in secret.
Hallelujah.
Why are you sowing seeds in secret? So if I ask you, David, how much did you get from that gig? You're like, I got 100,000.
And yet you got
150. And then you keep the 50.
Keep the 50 for the greater good. For example, for example, when I put this money here, we are not going to save anything because now the child needs this. We need money for utilities and all those things. Before you know it, everything has been
spent,
and it is genuine. You see. But then you have to keep this 50 for some bad times. Yeah, because if you bring it there, this kid wants milk. and you have it there. So what you do, maybe, I am not saying that's what I do.
And you're not justifying the sin of lying, the temptation of lying.
Yes.
Okay.
But would that be lie if it is for the greater good? I'm saving this money maybe to buy land at some point. But then when I bring it here, my partner, no, I'm just saying, they may not be, it may not be for, it may not be
No, even the needs of today cannot end. So they'll definitely consume whatever money comes. Yet we have to think about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know.
There have been moments when, for example, I have, say, been stopped from getting money from somewhere by my wife. But subconsciously, I feel we need it, and sometimes the reasons are there. Everything
And the spirit is telling it.
not really the spirit, but the tempter is really pushing me to get the money. And there was an instance I did that and went ahead, got the money, and she asked me, "Where did you get this money now from?" And her suspicions were so high that indeed it was the same avenue where I got the money, and she, for the benefit of marriage, I was so tempted to lie to her. The problem with me and my wife is, for such temptations, I'm an open book. So usually she can see it from a distance.
That even when you lie, she'll know.
Even when I lie.
You're lying. I know you're lying.
And then she also has these tricks she plays on me that eventually she will ask me once, twice. By the third time, I've already told her the truth. So I don't know how you would treat that. I was overcome by that temptation, and then I overcame it, or eventually.
Eventually, you overcame it. But
yeah.
honestly, that is a question to ponder. If it's for the greater good. And isn't there a time when it's just okay? No, not the. Okay, I think it's never right to lie, but what you're saying is, for me, if I think what I'm trying to do is actually for the good of the family.
But there are also instances where someone had to lie in the Bible. Abraham lied about Sarah.
Yes,
because he knew to protect her. And anyway, God, I don't know if I don't know if God it was bad,
but it saved that day.
Yes, but the guy was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" But what if this guy? I think it was the norm of, or it was a culture that if a king or a person responsible sees your wife and they are good looking and you're the husband, maybe they would kill you or take her away. So maybe you just say, "I'm a
So it was for security reasons.
Yes.
But wasn't it still a lie?
The Bible calls it a
lie.
He lied. Yes, he lied.
So he lied. And it's not good to lie. It's really not good to lie. So I think temptations are basically summons from the devil. The more you listen to them, the more you succumb to them, the more you easily give in. Because in my opinion, a temptation is not something that has already happened or something that you have done, though it carries the power and reality of the very action that would follow. Imagine if you wanted to steal someone's things, the devil will play out the whole movie in your mind, and you will live the reality in the spirit realm before you act it out. So it is up to you to believe what he's saying and you go act it out, or to overcome, which is also really not easy.
But also the Bible says thinking about something is as bad as doing it.
Yeah. By the way, now that brings me to the other point. Most of this temptation thing happens within our mind. does that mean we are as sinful as the
one who has
temptations?
done it. I think so, because if they're saying when you think about it, you have done it, then even just in the mind,
So in other words, there are more lies. Because now, some of us have really done things in our minds which we have not clearly told our spouses.
that's true. Our minds.
So that means from the word go, most people are liars, because you cannot explain yourself what you're thinking. And you be like, maybe we shall put that as God's standard,
But
of maybe sin and maybe
But if I haven't
temptation,
done
but
it,
not-
I think I haven't done
are
you
there
have
people
not-
who have overcome lies but are being tempted strongly in other fields?
I think so. You find one is strong in one aspect, and then there's one who is struggling with other aspects. Maybe we'll talk a little about other temptations, what we gauge and see.
Because for me, with the lying thing, like in my marriage, it has been really difficult for me to lie. Like I've told you, they will, when I pass the first phase of lying, for example, or trying to lie or intending, sometimes they look at me and they're like, "Nechi story ekyo gye kiraga ng'olabika odimba."
So you've already lied. By virtue of even that, you've already lied.
So the third time, that's when you unlie.
You tell the truth. Like by the way, what happened, Bambi, was this. So what other temptations do we face as married people?
Well, I think for us men, I don't know about my brother here, but the thing to do with relationships, and maybe sexual temptations outside marriage.
I thought when you get married, all that is done.
I thought so.
I thought when you get married, the temptations are finished, are conquered.
Those are some of the things that I thought. You remember the first question you asked? Are there any different things you didn't think would happen in marriage? Me, I thought when you propose to this girl, God will close your eyes from any other woman.
You would become literally blind
Yes.
To everyone else.
to everyone else.
But in as a matter of fact, that's when you become
Alive.
no. That's when your eyes are more open, and you be like, okay, where were these people before? Like,
If I said I do.
yes, where were they? And before you got married, you had these things, and you be like, okay, when you get married, and because definitely some of the people who are who have more years in marriage, these things, they don't share them to us. Especially your dad cannot come and tell you, I had this temptation, I saw this woman and fell in love with them. You cannot. Your pastor cannot tell you that. The father cannot tell you that. Everyone is just sugarcoating everything. So you think marriage is
bliss.
Yes. But then when you reach there, you see that they are, of course your eyes can see. You can see that this is beautiful. You can see this woman has a very nice body. That is a temptation. So so when it came up, I realized that this is one of those things that I thought I would be blind.
And isn't that what it's supposed to be?
That is what we assume, all of us going into marriage. You think, now that I've gone into marriage, first of all, the effort you put in to get this lady, all that time towards marriage, you cannot imagine that there is anyone else beautiful in this world. And then, like he said, you get into marriage and you've known this lady, you've probably had kids, and it is after that so many things start playing out. You see very beautiful people and start wondering where they were, and then sometimes contemplate on how you can maybe live life along with them. So along with them, yes. And of course it goes back to so many promises you made to your wife and what, but somehow your instincts of external pressures of new relationships and sexual attraction start also coming up, and it's really a serious temptation.
How have we, I don't know, how have we gone over these temptations as young men, because you are young men?
Sure.
How have you managed to or have you even gone over them?
Yes, we have.
Yes.
Yes, we have.
But have we been tempted in that way? Because for my viewers, they could just be saying we're just talking about these things. Are these things that actually happen to us?
Yes, these things, one, we have overcome, and so far,
So
we
far,
thank God,
we have overcome so far.
because they are like episodes. The funny thing about them is, while you close that chapter and win it,
Another better one comes.
a new one starts, and it is up to you. So like within a certain period you can say, oyo mukama webale wa muntu asako, you really saved me. That one, thank you Jesus. And then you will see another very innocent one, and sometimes it's not these people placing themselves in our side. Sometimes it is us going out to sort of look at them, because you see someone very beautiful, and sometimes they are very serious and principled, and maybe they are walking away from you, but because of this temptation, you sort of run.
But now, if you're the
towards
one
them.
going towards them, is that a temptation anymore?
Yes, I think it is
You're the
still
one
a
tempting the
temptation.
other person.
If you're chasing after money, it is a temptation
Oh,
for you
God.
to chase after money.
No.
Yeah. No, I think
This is Mbowa, if you want money, say 100 million, you can do things. And then you see an opportunity, and then you start chasing after it. That is a temptation. You're not tempting money. So I think this is the same thing here.
so. The actual temptation is every activity involved.
Is a temptation. So how do we handle it? Okay, we're going to look at it in three folds. One, if you're the one being tempted, there's this person tempting you. How do you handle? David, maybe you can share.
Number one, I've realized, or I've come to agree in my mind that beautiful people are always going to be in our society. So what I do personally is to talk to myself that even if you love her, there's always going to be someone else who is more beautiful than her. Someone said that women are like clothes. Oba okyawaana luneno nga luli olungi, omwana n'akuyisaako olugoye. No, gamba. So if you're not content in your mind, and you'll be like, you know what? The fact that I left all others and I went with this one, the fact is there are more beautiful women than my wife. They are more beautiful women. But I've made a vow. Therefore, I need to be content. The Bible tells us to be content. Like, yes, it's sexual temptation is like any other temptation about money, about in the world. Yeah, if you're not content about what you have, for example, money. And you see Mrs. Mbowa, she's driving, she has this nice house. If you're not content, you're bound to fall into that temptation. So what I do first of all is to know, yes, and be truthful to myself, that there is always going to be a more beautiful woman than that one. So does that mean I'm going to go sleeping with everyone that is beautiful? Namalodi. Yeah. Nera abapya bajja. So you be content. So the second thing is to really be open, because trust me, some of those things you can fall into temptation if you're not open it at home. Your spouses. For example, if you know ono omuwala gamazima, if I continue to talk to her like this, yes, I am going to do this. I am seeing that in the future. So maybe you be open with it. When you're texting, you leave your phone. Your wife can see it, so that you know. You do not start tempting the other girl over she's not tempting you, because now
it's in the open.
It's in the open. Era olutandika okulaba bu message obutandisa okubaako
coded.
Akugamba naye omwana, it's that girl. So when you're talking to her.
And I think women have that sense. I don't know, that extra sense.
We have a sixth sense. You people just need to believe it.
The person she has an issue with is usually a person you also have an issue with, whether you know or not. Or is usually a person you will have an issue with. So just to continue.
We're going to take a break. Please, let's skip the point just there. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about those temptations and those future temptations we are seeing. Don't go away. I'm Phiona Mbowa here at Church of Uganda Family TV with Ring Diaries. Welcome back. This is Phiona Mbowa here at Church of Uganda Family TV with Ring Diaries. Before we went for the break, David and Henry here were telling us about the temptations that come to any marriage. And I think any marriage, I've even learned of a new one today. I didn't know I was being tempted. But we have learned that we can be tempted in several ways. But what matters is how you handle the temptation and the things that follow. So David, you were telling us, how do we avoid temptations? Especially now we're talking about the sections, given that we are two young men. How do you handle, especially in your line of work as a musician, how do you handle?
I think the other point is to make your mind and yourself busy, because some of those temptations really come when you're idle. Okay, some of them, not all of them. Some of them, that's when you go on TV or on your phone, scrolling through Instagram. You're actually not doing anything, just scrolling through. That's when you find this woman. And then a thought is coming in your head. Something like that. Or maybe you're busy on your phone, you're giving people more time to talk to. This is when you have this girl that is interested in you and you start up a conversation. Now, the more you give her time, the more you're building something in her.
You're training your mind to accept the temptation.
Yes, now before you know it, she's now into you. She thinks you're going to always be texting her. And before you know it, now you have created something. You're falling into that temptation. Me, I'm thinking is just like the Bible tells us, to occupy our minds. To
guard our minds.
Yes, to guard our minds. Like, let's not be what should I say? A person that is idle. Idle. Even it's because in most cases those things come when we are at a point of resting. I'm from the gig of our work or something like that, and you'd be like, let me rest, let me be on my phone, and that idleness there, you start bringing in things in your mind. You're talking to people, you're walking through Instagram, and these days now there are so many ladies who are naked on Instagram, put on short things.
Or half naked.
Half naked, short things. I don't know who inspires them. Everyone wants to dance on Instagram, TikTok. Everyone is dancing,
Everyone is
half
dancing.
naked. Yeah, they are too good at showing off their body.
And Instagram has prepared them very nice filters. Sometimes they even don't look as beautiful as they look on the phone.
Filters have worked on them.
Yes.
But is it necessarily that for temptations usually come when you're idle? And there are those that actually come when you're busy.
I think even when you're busy, you could get tempted, but still, let's give it that time when you are not really busy or taking a break, and like David has said, screen time, because in my opinion, most of these temptations don't just happen from
Out of the blue,
from thin air. Like usually you create an environment around you that will attract a certain temptation. For example, if you are the type of person who believes whether I have little money or more money, what I have is enough. I won't call to borrow people's money, and in my heart I know I won't even be able to pay. Or I won't go for wrong gigs because of money, and you maneuver through life. But if you're this type of person who has said, if I want to eat a certain kind of meal, whether I can afford it or not, it has to. Yeah, so when you create an environment around yourself where maybe screen time, or when you go on your phone, you are reading or researching instead of maybe going into some sites. So you will not see certain things, and eventually you will not really give in to certain temptations.
So we need to keep busy.
Yes.
And then we're talking about how even David, to get in the situation with the Sheba, he was actually not busy.
Oh, you are talking about the David.
David, no,
in the
no,
Bible.
The David in the Bible. So while everyone was at the field, for him he was home relaxing. I even don't know why. And that led him into temptation.
He was not even home. He was, I don't know what was
He was
doing.
home, but on the
He was
balcony.
on the balcony. So does that mean why was the shepherd?
She was in another quarter just showering.
So
How can a person near
his bulks.
a king's palace be in a room where
No, the king wanted to waste time on the balcony, and as he was passing time on the balcony, his eyes turned, and that's the environment if at least maybe he had stayed in the house or in his quarters praying and travailing so that the people on the front line win, that would be okay.
but also he had a choice, because this temptation wouldn't have he wouldn't have fallen in it if he just saw and he's like, okay.
By the way, but now that is the critical zone of any temptation. It's the red zone of any temptation.
Now we are talking about David, the David in the Bible, but David, and the temptations that you've thought, okay, you don't maybe go all the way like David did, but actually you come from first phase of the temptation and go to second phase, and you stop yourself maybe from going third and fourth, but when you feel, if it wasn't God, I would actually easily go to another phase of this temptation.
Yeah, of course there are those. There are those. First of all, about lying or about money issues. There's a day I get someone his money and we are together. This guy is a white. He doesn't need money. We went to minister. Those that are born again, we went to minister with him. I played keyboard. Then after, they gave me the envelope with my name, but I knew it was for him. So it's some huge envelope. And for him, whenever I have gone with him, they don't give him money. So the temptation was, after all, they have put my name.
And he doesn't expect it.
Yeah, and he doesn't expect it. So I would have taken the money. But then going into the other phase of now allowing it and going, I had so many thoughts. I had so many, in that week I had a lot to complete. And here, I don't know if it was coming from God, but thank God I won.
So couldn't you just have given out something God had given you?
Something, I don't know, but you know, one of these things, it's your heart is true to yourself. I knew if I take this money, it's not mine, and I will not have peace.
And by the way, I think usually God has kept inside us that part of us which knows the difference between wrong and right. You know, there is no temptation that will take you by surprise. Just like the Bible says, no temptation will come to you unless that which is common to all men. So it is common, and still the Bible says there is nothing new under the sun. People could be naked, but even in those days where people used to only put on gomesi and mushanana and those really local and very decent clothes, people still used to have temptations. Yes, and I mean, it's just the trend that changes, or maybe the environment, but the temptations are still the same.
But don't you think now they are a bit more magnified,
The moment-
especially with technology?
By the way,
Yes.
I am believing that if Solomon was in this era, Solomon, if he was in this era, King Solomon, the one who had
300 wives and
And,
700 concubines.
no,
Yes.
700 wives
And 300
and
concubines.
300 concubines.
And remember how they used to dress. So Solomon, if he was in this era where women are half naked,
Or completely naked.
nze ndowooza Solomon temwandibaze. And I'm believing that I'm actually stronger than Solomon. Because in this chaos, in this kind of era where everything is permissible, it is the trend, that is the culture.
You can even say sorry to God.
Yes, Imagine
Well, no,
those
but
days.
say sorry to God.
Yes, in those days, God would, you know how
Ban
God would
you
punish.
immediately.
But here you have even grace. You have
His
Jesus
grace.
Christ. You can ask for forgiveness. You even when you don't have cows, it's just saying the word. Back then you would go remission of sins. You take
Burn
a lamb.
1,000 cows.
Some of those things. Maybe that's why some people didn't sin a lot back then. But here Solomon yandibadde mubi nnyo nze we musingiraawo kuba ebyo byonna mbiraba, and I'll be like, oh my God, this grace, I'm not going to do this.
I'm above that.
Yes.
I think
So
also
technology
values.
has really magnified temptations in very many ways. And I liked what you said, David, about being content. Because you see, if you're not contented with what you have, then there's always going to be a better thing coming over and over again. Yes, Henry, you're talking about values.
Yeah, I think values also. From what he says, you value yourself. Me personally, growing up, I come from a family that is polygamous. And one of the things I told myself going into marriage is I have no alternative to marriage. I have one slot for marriage. And I think sometimes we give into temptations, especially of extramarital relationships, because you don't have that end to self of this. I did it. I had one slot, and I'm done. You have alternatives. So me, one of the things that will never see me succumb to getting another person in my life is, one, the principle of I am married to one person, and that is the only part. I want to create a nuclear family. Of course, there are so many temptations, so many battles, but it's a value that the devil looks at and is like, this guy is really hard. I've tried to convince him, because there are so many other people who for example, us who are working out there or sort of have a few achievements, you find some women would come to you regardless of whether you're married, even when they see the ring very clearly.
I'm told the ring attracts people more than without a ring.
I was told I've not encountered that.
But even when they see, and they don't mind whether you're married.
So because
or
of the
not,
level you've reached,
yes,
it attracts more
yes,
temptation.
Yes. And if you are the type of man who has this mindset of alternatives, you don't have this final settlement in your heart that you see, I'm done. You can easily give him, because imagine if you buy a car, for example, I drive, you have a house. Even just in the neighborhood, there are so many other ladies who are renting, who are struggling. As you're driving out of your fence, they are looking at you. So,
but I thought for men it's easier because you're the ones who go after the girls. For the women, maybe you can say this man is maybe hitting on me on one. I thought for men it is an easier thing because
to do what?
You're the only
not to fall.
Yes, because you're the one who will start the falling.
Okay, I think also the eyes. You can just look, someone can just look at you and the option is left with you to either go to them or to go to them or not to go to them.
Like just looking at you and you have those options.
Yes, someone just gives you a look and you know this one is going to be easy for me. It happens. And imagine if there are people giving you these looks all over the place.
Don't you think there are people who you think are giving you those looks when they are not aware that they are giving you those looks?
You check your heart. You check it.
Because for
In
me,
most
being
cases,
a naturally, that is how I look at people.
But you also know, me, I've been told by my wife that there are people that really come. In fact, ladies, you say that men are not sensitive to who is.
You don't know usually.
So that means you also know, ladies, that these things you are the one that really starts them.
Actually,
Yeah, what?
I have seen my wife, for example, tell the maids, "Gwe yambala bulungi," or "Gwe ise bulungi," and it is all going back to how they are going to create an image in me of them, for me to probably easily mess up with them. I am giving just an example. Then the other thing is still about no one teaches a baby. Okay, me growing up from baby to wherever I am, no one taught my tongue that this is sweet, this is nice for the tongue. It's just natural. So there are these looks you see, and you know this sister, is up to something. And even if they play hard eventually, or they don't play hard, it even goes back to the example that we had when we were dating. The wife that I have, for example, it was a full package: looks, handshakes, certain hugs, communication. It is a full package. So temptation.
I am not the only one that is playing a part. In fact, ladies play more part of that temptation than guys.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It depends on maybe who has more interest or who has really given in to tempt. Because the more you give in, the more easy it is for you to be tempted in the same thing. You may find someone maybe has fallen short with 10,000. It is easier for this person to mess up with 100,000. It will be even more easier for this person to mess up with 1 million shillings. It keeps on growing. Yes.
Do you think there are people who are more, temptable is not a word, but that for them they're easily tempted more than others?
Yes. And in my opinion, it comes from, again, the experience in the temptation.
That's of experience.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Hey.
That's so experienced that now it comes easy.
Yes. You could even sit back and you're like, let's test this guy with this curtain care and see. And you will not be disappointed because they performed the same thing with 1,000. Just like he said, so the next time they give him my envelope, he's not going to sit on it. He will not even reduce a single shilling because, I mean, he's past that. But if he has been lying, for example, and he has lied several times, in my opinion, it is easier for him to tell the next lie or a bigger lie because he has lied before.
But also levels. Me, I'm thinking with everyone has temptations, but the bigger the level, the more temptations for that level. Yeah, because now for me, I meet a lot of people, but in church.
Okay.
Yeah, I direct music. I teach people to play keyboard and all those things. And then in our line of work, you find more ladies, especially in church. You find more ladies in church than men. So you're going to have to, you're always talking to ladies. I want, David, teach me keyboard.
In that voice.
Yes. Hey, that was awesome. I liked your ministration.
Oh, God.
Yes. So you find that if, for example, my brother here, Henry, may not be going through such.
Exactly. Because
And
me, I'm
yes,
usually with men at site, we are
men at
doing
site,
work.
he's an engineer,
Yes.
he's going to be guy later be So his temptations are really going to be so specific and so strategic that someone will just kubeera ng'alina w'atuuse okitegeera. But for me, zigenda kubaawo zeetoola sitaani ali awo azungira wenyini. You get. So I am thinking also the level and where you're at also matters. For example, there are temptations I'm not going to get because I don't have a car, and he's going to get them.
Yeah, sure.
You get. Now he's going to have so many of those along that line. He has a car.
It reminds me still about the women of a friend of mine who told me some girls who cross very slowly when it is a guy driving.
How do they know that it's a guy driving?
No, the moment you can
see a person.
The moment it's a private car, windows are up, and it's a guy on the steering, the lady will change the style of walk. She will cross the road slowly.
People give yourself too much importance. To tempt you. But now, as Christians, these are things. Now, for example, David, you've said literally, Stania, and before you were telling us of how you've overcome, one, being open about it, telling do you think it is actually good to tell your wife, this girl is making moves on me?
Now, my take on that is a dangerous one. Psychologically, and what the community teaches is that women feel more respected if you do not throw around stories of temptations about other women. Because when you tell her about most of those stories, she feels like you're really lowering her down, and then still she feels like one day you might end up with these people again. Or she can probably use it against you. You see, you are always doing this and that. But I think being open about it at the early stage, or sometimes accepting, since women have this sense. Usually, for me, the ones my wife has saved me some would be relationships, where those she saw from a distance. At first, I denied. Even when I knew something is fishy. But eventually I gave in and I'm like, you know what? The truth looks like this thing is really fishy.
And for some reason, if people take long to notice. Okay, I think you notice, you just don't want to acknowledge.
Like you said in the introduction, temptations are really packaged well. You sometimes want to enjoy, go around it. Phase 1, phase 2, and then you run away.
You run out phase 2.
But in most cases, you don't understand. You think it is the norm of the day. You think that's how she woke up and just decided to dress like that. Then afterwards, That's when your wife tells you, but today, the way that
Or
girl-"
even sometimes you feel like you are in control. I know this is a
I
temptation,
want
but
him
I'm
more.
still in control. I am the man.
So how personally, I think it gives you a sense of accountability when you tell your spouse
Yes.
you're accountable. Like, you literally can't be with this person because you know I've actually told my husband about it or my wife about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is an interesting conversation. I want us to wrap it up. But yes, you've talked about being open about what are those practical things we can do to overcome these temptations? Now, David, you who is surrounded by the devil, I think in many forms, what are those practical things for our viewers out there who may be in a similar situation?
One of it, men, is when you look there once, avoid looking there the second time. Some of these ladies are so strategic. Me, that's what in most cases I do. You're going to find a girl endowed.
Gifted.
Yeah, and sometimes you just look there because you didn't know. Eyes were passing, and you'd be like, Then after you have removed your eyes, please don't take it back. Don't be like my brother who says you look there ogwo mugaso, like otunulayo omurundi gumunga gwa mugaso omuremesa kamaso. But if you know that something is really eye-catching, look there. Okay. In fact, don't look there. But if you catch yourself looking there, please make sure you don't look there again. Because that's when now you're going to start to build up blocks in your mind and how
Planning.
Yes, planning. Charono. That's when you can't see even other features
that you hadn't seen the first time.
Empale yasaze. Oba cleavage. Because now you're looking there the second. Now, this time round, it is intentional.
It's not random, it's intentional.
Yes. Yeah, some girls sit bad in church. Yeah. It's yeah, okuba keyboard yo. As your eyes are moving to and from, then you see someone.
So you should ignore the temptation.
Yes, ignore the temptation. Be focused on the person preaching. Pray in other tongues. Those that can do. Close your eyes because then on is a friend of mine. This girl comes up. We are at a wedding. His friend, the girl comes up, and she sat bad in his.
In front of
Line
him.
of sight.
Was
Yes.
the guy the groom?
No. We are band. Band that plays on. And this girl was there from the time she came until she left. Now she left her note. I did that on purpose. This is my number. Call me.
Oh.
God, the devil is really
No,
no
this
line
one
of
was
work.
on purpose. Olinaja ngayambadde wekati ate n'alaga nti talina buzibu. You get? So this brother of mine told me, David, that girl just came to disturb my mind. I was playing guitar, but this girl was there in front of me. You pretend.
You come back somehow.
At some point, the eyes are like, man.
Did he eventually not call or win the temptation?
And you leave us. Henry, how do you handle your temptations? We need to come to an end of this.
Well, one, have personal principles so that you know that when they are talking about issues in the bar, they will never see you. For example, that if family TV is telling news in the evening or in the morning about an issue that happened, maybe about theft somewhere, you should never be there. So those are personal values. You value yourself. Then secondly, create an environment around you.
About valuing someone, we may take it another way.
Well, people like men who value themselves.
Yes.
So it creates more.
By the way, you could have a standard or a value of Ngagoyagara ba class. That is a value. That is a value.
Oh, we need to close this discussion.
No, that's not the value I was talking about. Say, okay, at least me, I can't do that. I think it is good discipline. It is good discipline. Eventually, you normalize, and even if some people will even start fearing you or to approach you in a certain way, because you value yourself, you respect yourself.
At least you throw off someone.
So you at least reduce score. Yes. Then the other is how you should create an environment around you of, like I said, not being in the wrong place, maybe at the right time or the wrong time, depending on the circumstances. That when you have to be at church, please be at church.
And concentrate on prayer, not on the system.
Yes. And ignore, like he said, because sometimes they are also strategic or something like that. Then lastly, for us marrieds, be open as early as possible, because when you are in the red zone of a temptation,
you can't.
Pressures are high.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much, Henry. It's been an insightful discussion, and I hope at a later time we can continue with it and we expound a bit more on it. And for our viewers, I hope you've learned something. Temptation is normal to men, but falling in it is what is not normal. As marrieds, yes, we face these temptations wherever we go, but how do you manage the temptation? You cannot just keep falling in because the temptation is there. We need to learn to go around the temptations and to live a happy and joyful marriage. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Phiona Mbowa here at Church of Uganda Family TV with Ring Diaries.